Hello, and on the floor. Okay. Hello, and welcome to the Thursday Movement Series. This week we are going to be focusing on the glute bridge and several variations of that glute bridge. Now, the glute bridge is designed for, you guessed it, the glutes. Specifically the glute maximus, gluteus maximus, which is the big one, right? You have three glutes if you didn't know. You have the big one, you have the glute medius, which is up here to the side, and then you have the glute minimus, which is kind of under both of them here in the middle. That's a hard one to work. So mainly when we are exercising, we're either working the big one or the glute medius here to the side. With the glute bridge, you'll obviously want to be on your back. And with this movement, you can either have your feet facing directly forward, or you can turn them out to the side just a little bit. When you turn it out to the side, you may be able to get a tighter squeeze on the glutes. Okay? Now, to make this a little easier, you may not go up as high. You may just use body weight. Okay? But this is a fairly basic movement. This is probably the most basic variation of a glute bridge, is just a body weight glute bridge. You do essentially want to try to get a straight line from your knees to your hips to your shoulders. Now again, this may be a little high. That may be something to work up to. But that is our goal, right? Now, to make it more challenging, a couple variations. You can put a weight here on your hips. Some people do this with like a barbell, a big old bar with plates on the end. If you have the equipment to do that, generally those people are a little more elevated to have that kind of space. Or it can be something as simple as a dumbbell or whatever it may be. You just have to be careful because, you have a uterus and it may not be very comfortable just with a big old kettlebell sitting there. So having dumbbells kind of on the hips, I have found to be a little more comfortable than a kettlebell right in the middle, right? Up and squeezing and holding it can be another variation to make it more challenging, okay? You can also create some instability and put your feet on the bozu or an unstable surface, right? Pushing in through the heels. Again, trying to get that straight line, squeeze, controlled back down. Another variation would be a single leg. Okay, this could be on the floor. It could be on an unstable surface. Now, careful with your arms. You don't want to push through your arms. They're there to stabilize. You want to really focus on using the glute, controlled back down. Now, pushing through the heel will be important because that'll put that emphasis on the glute rather than pushing through your toes. You're not going to get as much glute action. Okay. Another variation would be elevated. And I do put this on a couple people's programs as they progress. Getting winded. Now this will be much more comfortable with shoes on. But you're starting with a 90-degree bend in both the hips and the knees. Same thing, arms are there to stabilize, not push. You want to try to get that straight line from the knees to the hips to the shoulders. Now that may be a little harder in an elevated position. But in this position, there is a little bit more emphasis put on the hamstrings, which is here in the back of the leg. So you may feel a little bit more here than just in the glutes. Nice and controlled. Now there was another question, similar exercise, which was for the frog bridge or maybe a frog pump, a variation of a glute bridge. Okay? What that looks like, get my pants adjusted here. Feet are together, knees are apart. Like this is a frog position for whatever reason, butterfly, frog, whatever you want to call it. You're still pushing through the heels and lifting the hips up. Just a little bit of a variation. You may feel a little bit more on the outside of the glutes. you're not going to go up nearly as high, but you're still aiming for, because your knees are out to the side, you're aiming for that straight line still between the knee, hips, and shoulders. Okay? So because you're kind of pushing your feet together as well, you may feel it a little bit on the inner thigh. But essentially this position can help eliminate the hip flexors. Not that you're really using the hip flexors in this position, but with your feet out to the side, they're kind of inactive. They can't really fire. Not much of a difference, but it is just a different form of the glute bridge. That one you can't do single leg. You can add weight. And the variation I think somebody was asking about is frog pumps, which would simply be, you know, staying up in that position and just doing little pumps up and down, a little pulse, I guess. So that's keeping tension on the glutes. You're not giving them that chance to rest. You can do that same thing in a glute bridge. Okay. But again, you may feel a little bit more on the outer thigh with the frog pump, a little bit more on the inner thigh, whichever you prefer. They are different, but not too terribly different that if you do one versus the other, it's not going to make much of a difference. Yeah, that's that is the glute bridge. That is the frog pump. So if you have questions or need a different modification, let me know, and I'll see you in the next video.